I think Mr. Portolo has already given you a hint of what is to come, what I'm going to talk about. But I'll not confine myself to just the scheme that we run. But I'll talk a little bit about, the state of pensions in the country today, and why it is becoming, an absolute necessity to think of pensions at a very early age. So that's what I'll focus on in my talk. Now, if you were to step back in time in India, say about 2 or 3 decades back, there would be very few people who would have heard of pensions. The pension was a privileged benefit available to very few people. Who got pension in those, say about 30 years, 20, 30 years back? Who got pensions? Government officials, defense people, they were already getting pensions. And from the 1950s onwards, the people working in larger companies or organized sector, they were the only beneficiaries of pensions in the country. Nobody else had pensions. In fact, one of the reasons why many people wanted to join government service was the fact that they could get pension benefit there. So that's why government jobs were very coveted because of this benefit that it carried. So 30, 40 years back, nobody had pensions, and most of the people didn't have pensions. And so how did people carry on in their old age? Can you guess how the income requirements in old age were managed in those days? Not too long back, 30, 35 years. Yeah. You are all right. But the institution, there was an institutional support available to people, which is still there to some extent, but it's slowly breaking down. And that institution was the joint family system. Now, the joint family system took care of the old age income needs of people, because families stayed together. Parents stayed with their children, and after the parents stopped working, they would fall back upon their children to support them in their old age. This worked very well because the family stayed as a one unit. There was not that much of. No, this is audible. Is it audible? Yes, that's fine. So this worked very well because the family stayed as one cohesive unit. The parents could stay with their children because the children were all there. The same house, all of them stayed. There was not too much of migration of labor in those days. And therefore, and one other thing was that people didn't live as long as they are living now. So the dependence of parents on the children was not there for as long a time as it is now. But all this started to change once the country went in for industrialization, and people started moving to towns and cities in search of jobs. And the other thing, of course, was that the farms. Most of the people who stayed in the rural areas depended on farms for their livelihood. And with the family increasing in size, the small size of the farms was not enough to support them. That was another reason why people started moving out from the farms into the towns and the cities in search of work and jobs. And when this started to happen, the family as a cohesive unit started to break up. So the children moved away in search of jobs and better pastures, and the old people were left to fend for themselves. So this started happening about 30, 35 years back, and it has picked up, it has accelerated, picked up momentum in the last 20 years or so. So what this has brought about is that now increasingly people have to look after themselves in their old age. They cannot really depend on their children because the children stay far away, and when you look at the fact that prices keep rising, inflation, the ravages of inflation, all these things take a toll on people's incomes and the amount of support that they can provide to others. So with all these things happening, the joint family system started to break up. So when this happened, the difficulties that old people face started increasing. Not only because of the fact that the children were no longer there to support them, but also because of the fact that people were living longer. I think Mr. Basant mentioned about longevity. In the last 10 years itself, 10 or 15 years itself, longevity in India has risen by almost 6 years. So people who were living to be, say, 60, about 10, 15 years back, are now living to be 67, 68. And the longer you live, the more income support you need. So this was an added, issue which started coming up. And then, the other issue of inflation, costs keep rising. And when you don't have a steady income to support yourself, it becomes very difficult to eke out an existence. So so all these problems multiplied, and it came to a point in the 1990s when the government sat up and started thinking about this issue. And they said that something had to be done. Otherwise, all these people, old people who did not have any income support, would become a burden on the government. Because where else would they go to? I mean, if they didn't have income, then they would either be on the road, or they would fall back on the government for some kind of a support. So to take care of this problem, the government set up a committee in the 1990s to look into this issue, and this committee came up with a series of recommendations, one of which, the most prominent one being setting up a pension scheme in the country, which is named as the National Pension System now. And this would be a voluntary pension scheme which anybody in the country, any citizen in the country could join, could contribute. It would be a contributory pension scheme. People could contribute towards their pension. Those monies would be invested in the market, and then when they retired, they could draw upon this amount to buy an annuity and use it for their old age security needs. And that is when we got created. We got created actually in 2004, but the law was passed only in 2013, so we became a statutory body in 2014. So we were tasked with this responsibility of floating this pension scheme in the country and ensuring that as many people as possible join the pension scheme. Now, if you are to promote a pension scheme in this country, you have to look at these pension schemes have to have certain characteristics which would be of appeal to the large mass of people who don't currently have any pension benefits. So I don't know if you are aware, but in India, do you have any idea of how many people are there in the organized workforce in this country? Any guesses on the number of people who are in the how much? They're very close. Just about 15% or so work in the organized sector. And the organized sector, I mean, the government servants, defense, and large industry. So only about 15% of the workforce in the country is in the organized sector. The rest of the workers, the rest of the people that employed in this country work in the unorganized sector. Unorganized sector means all these small businesses, farms, this, that, all those kind of occupations. So the bulk of the workforce is in the unorganized sector, and it is this bulk of the workforce, the 85% of the employment in the country, which has very little access to pensions. So, when we are designing the pension scheme, national pension system in the early 2000s, we had to keep this fact in mind that this would be a scheme for this largely for the unorganized sector, and therefore it had to be something of appeal to them. So what would be of appeal to them? See, the income levels in the unorganized sector are not as high as the income levels in the organized sector. And so it had to be a very low cost scheme. That was the first criteria. It had to be a very, very low cost scheme. Second criteria was that it should be a regulated scheme. You all heard of the financial scandals and the scams that take place in the country. But there is no regulator looking at these financial products. How a lot of smooth operators in the country can get away with financial scandals. So the government wanted to avoid that kind of a situation arising. And so they said we must have a regulator to look after this pension scheme. And we in PFRDA, we are the regulator for this pension industry. So when the law was passed, we also passed a series of regulations governing all the different aspects of working of pensions in the country. So it's a very regulated pension scheme. We lay down the rules for the pension. We appoint the key players in the industry, and if there's any violation, then we have the power of punishing them and taking, corrective action. So we have all those powers. Now all this was done to inspire confidence in people in pensions, so that they would come forward, they would know that this was a scheme which was regulated, and if there was any wrongdoing, then the people responsible for the wrongdoing would be punished under the law. Then the other thing, the other requirement of this pension was that it should be a very transparent scheme. People should understand what they were getting into. People should always know at any point of time, what were their holdings like, how much of pension could they expect to get. So transparency was another thing that that was built into the scheme. Then, and this is of particular relevance to today's time, it had to be a portable scheme. So no matter where you work, if you were in the south today, if you are in the south today, you could open the account. Tomorrow if you went to work in the north, you still have the same account. You didn't have to close your account and reopen a new account. The account traveled with you wherever you went. So this was a very key feature of the National Pension Scheme, which was built in to take into account the fact that a lot of the labor in the country is migratory in nature, and they move around from place to place in search of work. Even in the organized sector, a lot of people, I think all of you are aware of this, people change jobs very frequently. They go from one place to another, one company to another, keep changing jobs. And so when that happens, it should not be necessary for them to close one account and open that. The drudgery of opening accounts and closing accounts should be avoided. So that's what was built into the pension scheme. Portability. And of course, it had to be professionally managed. The returns of the pension schemes had to be as good as anything we got in the market. And we did this by appointing professional fund managers. We don't manage anything ourselves, so we appoint fund managers. Some of the best names in the country manage our funds, and they are deployed in the market. And I don't know if you see the returns that our funds have been generating, but they generate returns which are comparable to the best in the business. So, with all these features, the National Pension System was launched, and it has been gaining popularity. It's been a bit of a slow process, slow because it's a voluntary scheme. See, unlike the other schemes, like you all heard of the Employees Provident Fund or EPFO. And EPFO also has schemes for large companies, but that's a mandatory scheme. So anybody who joins a company which is a member of EPFO has to be necessarily a member of the EPFO. So unlike that, this is a voluntary scheme. So people can join if they wish to, and they can stay out if they wish to. So it requires a lot of persuasion and convincing and to get people on board. But we've had success, and as of now we have got about 1 crore and 83 lakh subscribers, and we are managing about 215,000 crores. This has been built up over the last 6 or 7 years of our existence. So the product is there. And now who should join? That's the question. Who should join? We ask all those people who have some income. I'm not talking about the below poverty line. You would be having an idea of the people who are below poverty in this country. Various estimates have been made. There were several committees set up. You must have heard of the Tendulkar committees and the Rangachari committee. Now all of them say put the BPL level at around 23–24%. So that segment would not probably be able to join this because they don't have disposable income. But the rest of the population in the country could very well join NPS, and that's what we are targeting. Young people particularly are the focus of our attention because there are a lot of benefits to joining pension schemes at a young age, and I'll talk about it in a little more detail. See, what happens is that when you're young, you can invest for a longer period. When you join a pension scheme and start setting aside monies, small amounts, you can save for longer time because your working life will be a lot longer. And by the time you retire at the age of 60, you'll be having much more money than if you were to join later. And I'll give you some figures for example. Say if a person were to join, say at the age of 25, and if you were to contribute just 2,000 rupees a month, which would earn a return of 9%. Actually, our corpus has been earning a return of well over 10%. But just to be on the safe side, conservative, the interest rates have been dropping. So if the amounts invested every month at the rate of 2,000 rupees a month were invested at 9%, then at the age of 60, that is after 35 years, you would get a lump sum of 58 lakhs. Now, if you want to join, however, even 5 years later, at the age of 30, instead of 25, you join at the age of 30. Same amount, 2,000 rupees a month, same interest, 9%. The amount that you get in hand at the age of 60 is just 36 lakhs. So the difference of more than 22 lakhs for a delay of 5 years in the start of joining. So why does this happen? The power of compounding. All heard of compound interest? You heard of Einstein? Albert Einstein? Albert Einstein had something wonderful to say about the power of compound interest. He said compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. And this coming from Albert Einstein. I don't know how many of you have heard this. Compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. Those who understand it earn. Those who don't pay. So it cuts both ways. And I'll tell you how it cuts both ways. So the power of compounding is such that if you start early, you get a lot more benefit of compounding than if you were to start later. So just to carry on with that example, I had given the example of a person joining at the age of 25. He would accumulate an amount of 58 lakhs at the age of 60, out of which just 18 lakhs would be the contribution actually made by him. 40 lakhs is on account of interest. So out of 58 lakhs, 18 lakhs only 18 lakhs is the contribution, that 2,000 rupees per month that he puts in now. And 40 lakhs is the interest earned on that. And that happens because of the power of compounding. So the benefit of starting early is massive, massive. When you look at it in terms of the figures, it makes a lot of sense to start early. Now, what happens if you don't start early? One of the things that I told you was that that you'll end up saving a lot less, and you'll have a lot less in your hands at the age of 60. Now, but if you are determined to have a much larger amount, but if you still start late, then what could happen? See, at the age of 25, if you get 58 lakhs, say at the age of 60. But if you don't start at the age of 25, you start at the age of say 30 or 35, then you would either have to step up your investments per month, 2,000 rupees will not do. You'll have to step it up to say 3,000 or 4,000 rupees a month in order to get the same corpus. Or alternatively, you'd have to put your money in more risky assets. You'd have to put your money in securities which earn you much more than 9%. So you could put your money in say equities. But equities are volatile. So you could end up carrying a lot of risk. You may earn good returns, but you may also end up carrying a lot of risk. So these are the risks that you run in not starting early. If you start late, yes, you can catch up, but then the risks that you'll have to face will be much, much higher. And it is not really advisable. So, these are some of the benefits of starting early. And there are other things also to look at. I mentioned about the power of compounding, working both ways. So when you start investing early, you get a full benefit. The other thing to note is the cost. Now cost has a compounding effect. So the higher the cost that you pay, there are a lot of schemes in the market. And you may have, many of you would be investors in the mutual fund market, in the mutual funds and some other financial products. Now, when you end up paying a slightly higher cost, most of the mutual funds have a cost of around 1% per annum. Most of them have that. Now our schemes are very, very low. Our pension schemes are arguably the lowest cost pension scheme in the world today. Just we give the pension fund managers just 1 basis point per annum on the amount that they invest, and the total cost that a person ends up bearing is just about 0.25% per annum. Compared to the 1% that the mutual funds and some other financial products charge. So what happens is that when you pay 1% per annum, now that 1% is on the amount that you invest, and it keeps getting multiplied. The compounding effect works in the reverse direction here. So high cost products also eat into your corpus. So you have to be mindful of 2 things. Starting early, but at the same time ensuring that you don't buy a product which is very costly. Otherwise that could eat into your returns at the end, and you could end up a little poorer than what you had hoped to end up with. So the cost aspect is another thing that you have to keep in mind. And the other thing that starting early gives you, one of the other benefits that starting early gives you is a lot of flexibility. When you start early, you can toy around with some risky assets to begin with. When you're young, your ability to take risks is much greater because you have a long span of time in which to make up for any. So a lot of people do this. They start off by investing, setting aside more money, investing more money in equities and some of the other riskier products, but which carry good returns. So when they start, they are in a position to take these kind of risks and earn better returns. And later on, they move on to safer assets, debt securities, and other such products which carry a lot less risk and also lesser return. But at that point of time, they set aside enough to not be too worried about the low return that they get on the safer assets. So this flexibility you'll have if you join early. But if you want to start late, a lot of people typically start thinking about pensions only in their 40s and 50s. In fact, many people, they look at pensions only when they're about to retire, 50, 55, by which time it is too late to set aside anything. And they don't have any flexibility at all. And if you were to start at the age of 50, and if you start taking risks, like putting your money in say equities or equity-like products, in the hope of getting very high returns and ending up with a large corpus, you could well end up eroding your entire corpus because of the volatility of the market. So you have a lot less flexibility, and therefore these kind of people who start late would invariably tend to move straight away into the safer securities, government securities, corporate bonds, and other debt market products, which are safer, but which at the same time have a lower return. So these options become limited. These options become limited when you start late. So that this is the other benefit that you have when you start early. And some of the other things that all of you need to keep in mind is that I don't know how many of you have monthly budgets. Do you all prepare monthly budgets? Yeah. It's a nice habit to have. If you prepare monthly budgets, then this financial planning and discipline starts setting in at a very early age. And when you do that, when you discipline yourself into saving small amounts regularly from time to time, that's when the habit of saving really picks up. And you should start doing that at an early age. Prepare budgets, stick to the budget, spend wisely, don't spend foolishly, don't borrow too much. Those EMIs and those credit card bills and all can amount to quite a large amount, eat into your entire savings and your income. So one has to be a little careful about how one goes about spending one's income. But if with a little bit of prudence and a little bit of care, it's possible to plan wisely and set aside small amounts for meeting your old age income needs. And I'll end this by giving you some sobering statistics. I mentioned earlier that the joint family system is breaking up. And this is the result of a survey done by the National Statistics Sample Survey, National Sample Survey. It said that only one man out of 5, that is 20% of men, were staying with their children in 2004. Now the situation could have been even worse. And only 50% of women over the age of 60, I'm talking about people over the age of 60,